Hi, and welcome to this week's The Mortgage Broker broadcast. I'm your host, Craig Skelton, and a couple of weeks ago, I sat down with Jonathan Needham to talk about the removal of the advice trigger. We explored how the change encourages mortgage advisors to think more like financial advisors, looking beyond the transaction and focusing on long-term financial well-being. This week, we're sticking with the theme of long-term thinking, but turning our attention to protection sales. As a self employed mortgage broker, a key part of the process and your income is protection, life cover, kick, or IP that you recommend. But do you know the options that you have on how you get paid on those protection cases? Do you understand the difference between indemnity, non indemnity, and a mixture of both? Do you know the benefits of each option, the issues with them, and which one you choose if you were starting out? I hear some brokers say they avoid talking about protection because they're scared of clawbacks. And that's not right. You shouldn't have clients at risk because of the fear about your own commission. The good news is you do have choices over how you get paid, and those choices can eliminate the risk of callback. And that's what I want to talk about in this week's podcast. Leaving clients exposed because you fear clawback isn't the kind of service you should stand for. You can look after your clients and protect your cash flow at the same time. You just need to understand the options and pick the model that works for you. As self employed mortgage brokers, we're used to obsessing over the best mortgage products for our clients, but protection shouldn't be an afterthought. It's a key part of your process, it's a key part of your income, and your duty of care to your clients. The way you choose to get paid on those policies can shape your cash flow, your behavior, and ultimately the long term value of your business. Far too many brokers leave protection out of their process because they're worried about commission clawbacks. And that's not fair to your clients. They still need life cover, they still need kick, they still need income protection. And the reality is that you have more than one option when it comes to remuneration. In 2024, 89% of intermediated protection sales were made on upfront indemnity commission. Indemnity might be the default, especially if you come from a large corporate environment, but it's not the only way. So let's just first of all look at the difference and let's look at it rather than jargon, let's look at plain English. When a protection policy goes on risk, the moment it starts, the client is covered, you can have three ways to get paid. The first way is all on indemnity. The provider pays you all of your commission in one lump sum as soon as the policy live. That lump sum is an advance against 2 or 4 years worth of commission. And if your client cancels within that period, you have to repay some or all of the money. That's what I mean by clawback. The longer the indemnity period is, so say 4 years instead of two, the higher the commission, but the longer you're on the hook if the client cancels. Many providers offer 2 year or 4 year indemnity period. 2 year indemnity pays a little less commission, but the clawback window is obviously shorter. A 4 year indemnity pays more upfront, but leaves you exposed to clawback for twice as long. It's about balancing risk and reward. And unlike in many corporate roles, as a self-employed mortgage broker, you do have choices with regards to how you do this. So the other option is all on non-indemnity or accrual or drip, whatever you want to call it. So instead of a lump sum, you receive your commission monthly spread over the initial commission period. So the commission paid in installments rather than upfront. So for example, a 4 year indemnity deal would have paid £1,000 upfront. On accrual, you might receive roughly £1,000 divided by 48. And if the client stops paying, your payments stop. There's no clawback because you've not been advanced the money that you haven't earned. Or you could choose a mixture of both. You can choose to identify some plans and accrue on others. Set a threshold. So, for example, take indemnity on plans under £50 a month and then accrual on larger cases. You're the business owner, you're the broker, so you get to decide on each case and which option suits you and your client. This sort of blended approach lets you tailor your remuneration to each client. You might identify smaller plans to keep your cash flow ticking over and put the larger long-term policies on accrual. Like say, you might set a benchmark, £50 a month premiums that clients are paying and indemnify below that, accrue anything above. Keep it simple. The key to remember is that Any identified portion still carries clawback risk, and that accrual income will build slowly at first. So why should you choose non-indemnity or getting it on the drip? If you've ever worked in a salaried broker role, you might assume indemnity is the only way, but it isn't. In my view, non-indemnity on accrual or on drip is the foundation of a long-term self-employed mortgage broker business. First thing is it's smooth on the cash flow. No more feast or famine. Rather than a big lump sum followed by a drought, you receive a set amount every single month. That makes budgeting easier. And the second thing is there's no nasty surprises because you only get paid as the policy remains in force. There's no clawback. You never have to pay back to the insurer because the client's cancelled. Your income simply stops when they stop making their payment. And the third thing is it builds a sustainable business. Drip fed income allows you to cover fixed costs like admin support or marketing or even office rent. I know brokers who use their accrual income to pay for their admin team or the high street office that they have. It takes longer to build up, absolutely. But once you have a bank of policies paying monthly, you're building on solid foundations and not living hand to mouth. In other words, non indemnity gives you regular monthly payments you can use to fund admin support, invest in marketing, and can even cover your office costs. It's not a get rich quick scheme, it's about building on solid foundations and sleeping at night knowing that your income isn't one policy away from disaster. And the fourth thing is it also increases your business value. Regular renewal income greatly enhances the value of a business when you come to sell it in the future. Whereas trading future income for a bigger upfront payment can reduce the value of your business. If you ever plan to exit, these recurring commissions are worth the weight in gold. And the last thing is, it also encourages better advice because you're paid over time. You have an incentive to set up the protection correctly in the first place and keep reviewing it. That's good for consumer duty and good for your client relationships. You're not pushing products for a one off payday, you're building a partnership that lasts. So let's look at the reasons brokers often give for sticking with indemnity. First thing is, I need the cash up front. I get that. When you first go self employed, cash flow is king. Protection cases take time. Medical reports, underwriting, chasing GPs, we've all experienced it. So getting a lump sum can feel like a lifeline. But you need to be asking yourself, do you really need all that money on day one? Or could you live with some of it arriving over time? Brokers favour indemnity because business expenses are incurred upfront. But ask yourself, can you manage those expenses through better budgeting, broker fees up front, or mixing the commission structures? Once you have a pool of accrual policies paid monthly, that steady income actually reduces stress and improves your well-being. The other thing that here is accrual doesn't pay enough, and it might feel that way when you're used to that quick hit. But over the long term, the numbers tell a different story. Taking more commission up front can knock your income, as drip fed commission will normally exceed what you get through indemnity as a rough rule. And obviously depends on percentage and commission splits. However, roughly you should expect to receive around 50% of what the client pays each month. So if you're selling a £50 a month policy, clients taking it out, you should roughly receive between £20 and £25 per month. The other thing is, what I hear is my network doesn't offer non-indemnity. Some networks do steer advisors towards indemnity, but providers can still structure commissions to make indemnity and non-indemnity. So speak to your network or speak to your firm. Just ask, you never know. And some will allow a mix once you've explained your reasons for doing so. Remember, you're running your own business, so it's up to you to push for the model that works and is right for you and your clients. The other thing that here is everyone else does indemnity. And absolutely, that is true. I've said before, nearly 90% of protection business is paid on indemnity. but that doesn't mean that it's right for you. We're talking about building a business that lasts. Sometimes that means going against the grain. Clients rarely ask how you get paid. They don't care. They care about giving good advice and that you'll be around to support them in the future. By smoothing your income and reducing risk, which is what is non-indemnity does, you're looking after both them and yourself. So how do you structure your protection commission? How do you put this into practice? So you need to think in terms of three options rather than one right answer. So you could put everything in indemnity, put all protection plans, 2 or 4 year deals, and take the cash up front. This can be helpful when you're brand new and you're first starting out and you need those quick wins to just keep the lights on. But remember, you're signing up for potential clawbacks. If the cancels within the indemnity period, and 4 years is a long time. Make sure your advice is robust and that you're budgeted for the occasional commission repayment or the occasional clawback. The other option is everything on accrual or non-indemnity or drip. Take the long-term view. Put every case on monthly commission. Start from day one. You'll wait longer to see the money, but you're building a sustainable income stream with no clawback risks. Some brokers I know, again, use the accrual commissions to pay admin staff and fund marketing campaigns. Buying leads as well. They also do it to buying leads in. So that it can transform your business from the hand to mouth to genuinely being stable. Or a mixture of both. This is the option that a lot of experienced self-employed mortgage broker favor. You decide case by case. So for example, indemnify any protection plans under £50, get some quick cash, anything over 50, put it on accrual. Or you might indemnify life cover, but accrual on income protection plans. You can do what you want, you can choose. The point is, you're in control. A tailored mix lets you build immediacy and stability. The downside is that you still have some clawback exposure on the indemnity portion, and your monthly income won't be as high as if you accrued everything from the start. The upside is that you can ease into non-indemnity without starving your business of cash from day one. Set a rule that suits you, a monthly premium threshold, a split by production type, product type, or by client. And don't forget, you can adjust that mix anytime as your business and cash flow evolves. Whichever route you choose, you need to keep some practical points in mind. The first one is understanding provider terms, because not all providers will do 2 and 4 year, not all providers will do non-indemnity, not all providers will do indemnity. So you need to understand which providers will work with what business model that you're looking at. Also, you need to plan your cash flow. If you move from indemnity to accrual, expect your income to dip before it rises again. You need to budget for this. Perhaps keeping some cases on indemnity, that's absolutely fine. You also need to review and retain when your income is linked to the policy staying in force. Annual protection reviews become a must. Make sure your cover remains appropriate, affordable, and in trust where necessary. This protects your client and your recurring income. And use technology. There's technology out there. Use your CRM to track renewal dates, set review reminders. That way you can manage a growing book of monthly commissions without letting any client fall through the cracks. And lastly, just picking up on mindset. So, what does this have to do with mindset? It has everything to do with mindset. If you're only chasing the next upfront payday, you're thinking short term. Taking non indemnity commission forces you to adopt the mindset of an investor, sacrificing immediate gratification for consistent returns. It's also about playing the long game. Remember, you're building a business to last. Consistent recurring income allows you to plan, allows you to invest, allows you to grow. Detach your ego from those revenue spikes. It might feel gratifying to have a bumper month with big indemnity payouts, but non-indemnity fosters a sense of calm and steadiness. It's also about serving first, profit second. When you're paid over time, you have an incentive to keep clients happy over many years. That builds trust, referrals, and a reputation for care. It's also about valuing your business as an asset. Renewal income adds capital value if you ever look to sell in the future or you look to retire. You're building something that lasts beyond your personal effort. So that's this week's podcast. The key takeaways for me: understand your options. Indemnity pays up front, but exposes you to clawbacks. Non-indemnities pay monthly. Avoid clawback. Think long term. Regular income can match and will exceed indemnity over time. Enhance your business value and support sustainable growth. Manage your cash flow. Plan for the initial income dip if you're going to go from indemnity to non-indemnity. Budget accordingly, and use a mix of commission structures if necessary. Stay client focused. Commission structures shouldn't influence the advice that you give. Choose the structure that aligns with your business strategy and still delivers fair value to the client. And adopt a financial advisor mindset. Non-indemnity encourages you to think like a financial planner, looking after your clients for the long haul, not just for the next sale. So that's it. That's this week's episode. If today's episode resonated with you, just take a moment after the recording, after you've listened to this episode, to reflect on your commission strategy. Are you building a business that can weather storms and grow steadily? Could switch in some cases to non-indemnity help you achieve that? And just before we wrap up, as I've said before in the previous podcast, I have now launched a non-cast to AR Academy designed for advisors who are starting the journey and want a guided route from trainee to competent advisor status and then ultimately becoming an appointed representative. We cover technical knowledge, soft skills, and mindset needed to thrive as a self-employed broker. If that's of interest to you, connect with me on LinkedIn, send me a message, and we can have a chat about how the whole program works. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you found value in the discussion, please share the podcast with fellow brokers, leave us a review. Please do not forget to subscribe. As always, focus on what you can control, keep the building the business that you truly want, and run your own race.